Hello crafty friends, this is the Paper Chef here. Welcome to part 3 of my Eden's Garden workshop series. In this series, we use products such as the Eden's Garden bundle. It comes with the bundle is a stamp set and dies. This is the stamp set. I'll show you many examples of this in a little while. And the dies, there are 5 dies. There's a border die we'll work with in another video. There's this beautiful die that makes this really nice wreath. We'll actually put this on on a craft box, which is part of your kit if you did get the kit. And we'll work with that later, but we're going to cut some other things with it. There are these 2 pretty dies. This one's especially nice for outlining sentiments. This one is just a great sprig to put on all kinds of things. And another little wreath. Okay, so it comes with 5 dies. We are going to, in this video, work with vellum. We are going to do different things to the vellum. I originally was going to call this video Coloring Vellum. But then I realized that we just need to work with vellum and cotton in sort of the same way. So I changed the title to just working with vellum and cotton paper, because you pretty much work with delicate things like this in the similar ways, except that you don't have to color the cotton paper. So we're going to be die cutting the regular vellum. It's in your kit. If you don't have a kit, I'll just show you where you can get it from Stampin' Up. Okay, we're going to die cut the cotton paper, which is really thin and delicate and really nice. We're also going to die cut, and this is the only piece I have left to show you, pre-die cut. It's called the In Color Shimmer Vellum. So I want to go over products and where you get them. And see, I tangled them up to each other, and they're just so fun to work with. Once you get a whole bunch of crafty goodness, you can then, oh, here's another piece of In Color Shimmer Vellum. Once you get a bunch of things, you can do so much with them and layer them up. All right, so let's start with just regular vellum. This is pretty much all I have left. Waiting for a shipment. Okay, product number, in case you need to take a screenshot. I didn't have time to type up the notes into the description of the video, but I did put the link to my Stampin' Up store in the description of this video. So the regular vellum, it's vellum cardstock. It's 101. Okay, hold on. I need to clean my glasses because I can't even see it myself, even when it's enlarged through the camera. Here we go. 101-856. Okay, now this is vellum cardstock. It's like a plasticky feel. It's really nice, right? It's like a thick vellum cardstock. So we're going to use this half sheet of that. So it's 8.5 by 11. You don't make cards with it. It's not that kind of cardstock. It's just in the same shape of cardstock, like 8.5 by 11. You can use it for layering and all kinds of stuff. So we're going to use it right now. Now the other product, I didn't have time to write the number, but you know, it is, here's the entire title. It's called 2021 to 2023 In Color Shimmer Vellum. I'm going to pull this out, and you're going to get to see all the In Color Shimmer Vellum. Okay, this is fresh. You have this in your kit too. Fresh freesia, pale papaya. Okay, let's make sure I get this is the soft succulent. Okay, let's put that right there for a second. We're going to put a pin on that. Okay, polished pink, evening evergreen. Okay, let's put these 2 down. Now these 2, the reason I included In Color Shimmer Vellum in your kit, if you're in the US and you're able to get a kit, there's a link to get that in the description. The reason I included little pieces of this is because I knew that these colors would coordinate with the Eden's Garden. Why? Because Eden's Garden, the colors in the Eden's Garden are soft succulent and evening evergreen. So this is also what we're going to work with today. This is the cotton paper. It's like tissue paper, except it's a little bit thicker than tissue paper, but not much thicker. Okay, it's kind of shiny on one side, tissuey on the other side. So cotton paper, and I've worked with that in other videos. So let's go ahead and get started with all the cutting. So we're going to do some die cutting first with all these pieces, and then we're going to have a bunch of crafty goodness to work with, and then I'll give you, we'll make part of a card, right? I'm going to show you how to work with that vellum and how you would sort of adhere it and hide the adhesive, and how to color it. I'm going to show you in this video how to work with sponge daubers or blending brushes or sponges if that's what you have, and I'll show you how to color it. All right, so wherever you are, you meet me with the idea of you're using your own materials. My workshop series are open to everybody here on YouTube, and you can watch the playlist and do the series. But if you are in the US, then you can also get a kit to follow along with my workshop series. I delve deep into different projects. All right, so the die cutting is plate 1. This is the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. Then we're going to put this thin die adapter. You need plate 2 when you're cutting thin dies. This is the sandwich. Now you need 1 plate 3. And then before we put the second plate 3, you're going to make your sandwich with the dies. This is, I can put it like this, but then you'll see me, I arrange them different times. You are able to put a piece of, let's just use, I'm just going to put a piece of shimmer vellum, okay, and cotton vellum together, because you can do both at the same time. And then we can do a couple more layers. So you could do 2 layers at once. You can even do 3 layers at once, but when I did 3 layers at once, I had a hard time. I'm just going to put this die down. You could actually put this die in the middle, but if you're going to do that, and it's fine, and you can put this little die over here, but I think I only gave you 3 inches of these. I don't think I gave you full sheets of this, but we're not going to use the border die right now. And I can put this little sprig somewhere in the middle here. If you're going to put all these dies in it, then it's best to run it through a couple times, both directions. If you're going to do that, let's put the top of the sandwich on there. And I'm going to go ahead and crank it through. It's going to make a little bit of a, yep, I just have to push it up. It's going to make a little bit of a crunching sound. Nothing to worry about. But because I am doing a couple layers, I'm doing the cotton and the vellum, I'm just going to go ahead and go back through this way too. I'll test it before I take it all apart, make sure that it all cut. So I'm going to flip it over to test it, sort of. I'm going to look at it, because if not, yeah, and it did go all the way through. If it didn't go all the way through, at this point, I would go like this. I'd say, okay, it didn't go all the way through, and I'd put this on it, and I'd turn it over and do it again. All right, so it's easy to take apart. So we were able to do both layers. And you're just going to do this little wiggle motion. So wiggle, wiggle, like this. These are easy dies to work with. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. And then if you have take your pick tool, or it actually has a die brush adapter on it, which is pretty nice. I didn't bring the die brush adapter right now, but I like to use this pokey tool, which is part of the take your pick tool, to get rid of any little holes like in the leaves. Like, so for example, this little part, right? This little sections, right? Keep it together. There's a piece of cotton paper behind it. Cotton paper is so delicate. Don't pull it off yet. It's already falling off, but don't pull it off if you don't have to yet. First, try to get the little bits out, and then pull the cotton apart. Because once you pull that cotton apart, it's just kind of delicate. So you see? And if you have a die brush, you can sort of roll it over, get the little pieces out. But I'm not going to make you watch me pick this all apart. I just want to show you that there's a piece of cotton paper under there. Pretty cool, right? So this is shimmer vellum. This is the evening evergreen. I would keep on poking it. And you can use this as one big piece on your cards. I'll give you lots of examples. I made lots of examples for this video. And you could use it as a wreath around. We're going to use a gold one when we do it for the box, but you can use this as a nice wreath around things. And it can even be, you can even turn some of your cards into Christmas cards. Now, this thing here, I like to save these little bits because they're nice for outlining sentiments. Especially when they're gold. Maybe I won't save the vellum ones. Probably not the vellum ones, but I'll save the gold ones. Because they make really cool. Like last week we did Hershey Nugget treats. So if you missed part 2, I'll show you what we did. But in there, it was cool to have the gold pieces like that. All right, so anyway, we have some vellum. Let's do it again. Let's not sit and pick it all apart. Let's just do it again with the regular vellum so you can see how that works. We'll do the other piece of cotton paper and we'll use the regular vellum for that. And I'm just going to pull this apart. Aren't these fantastic? You have all these pieces all at once. We'll go ahead and try to do 3 at once because I did 3 earlier and it did work. But we just have to run it through a couple times. We'll see if we can get it going. All right, let's go. Let's take a piece of, I always put the cotton one at the very bottom because it really doesn't, like the cotton is so cheap. It really doesn't matter if it doesn't go all the way through. I'm not worried about it, but the more, like the vellum I really want to cut, I put on top. I'm going to put this piece of cotton paper. Then I'm going to put the in-color shimmer vellum. I won't use this other colors right now. I'm going to take the piece of regular vellum and we'll put that on top of there. So we have 3 layers right now. And we're going to go ahead and put this down. Let's move this, take your picture. So, to make sure that you have everything out of these, see how there was something stuck in there? You might have to use your pokey tool to get this stuff out. Like this one has something in it. And you can also use a little piece of tape to get that out. So it's no problem. That's what the dies have little holes there for, to get everything out. All right, let's do it again. Okay, we're going to put that down. Put that one. Okay, let's run it through. This one I might have to do twice, but we'll see. Okay, a little bit tighter because I got that extra layer. Okay, I'm just gonna I'm gonna turn it around. I can put it back through like in reverse like I did earlier, but I'd rather just use my other hand because it shakes the table a little bit less. I mean, it shakes the camera a little bit less. I'm just gonna go ahead and put it through. I'm not even gonna test it. I'm just going through another time for good measure. Then I'll test it. All right, let's see if it worked. Pretty good, pretty good. It went through probably 2 layers. Like I said, I'm not worried about the rest of that cotton layer. So probably better off doing 2, but it's all good. See, here we got this beautiful layer of vellum. That's what I really want. That's why I put the most important one on top, because I want to show you how to color that one. I'll pull up my sleeves. Okay, so we have this beautiful in color shimmer vellum. We have new vellum coming out in the new catalog too. It's some kind of, I don't have my order yet, but as soon as I get it, I'll be sharing it on YouTube. And it has some cool layering vellum in the new catalog too. All right, so let's get this piece out because this should have at least done this. And you got to wiggle it just a little bit. Where'd it go? Where'd the wreath go? It's like it disappeared on me. It's probably still stuck on the metal die. Let's see. There's the metal die. I'm like looking all over for the one that's supposed to be like this color. Oh, you know what? It fell apart. So that's the one, when you work with vellum, sometimes it falls apart a little bit. It's all good though. Just try to do two layers works fine. When I did 3 layers earlier, I had a piece of this vellum and I had the 2 pieces of cotton paper. That's what I had when I was doing it earlier. All right, so now that we have the vellum die cut out, okay, we're going to take this and the one I did earlier, I'm going to poke all the extra holes out. And I'm going to show you now how to color it, and then we'll do some other things to it. All right. We have all these fun pieces. I have some from earlier. We have a pile of crafty goodness. And I'm just going to use my silicone mats. Okay. Again, these ones don't need to be recolored. They're already colored. You don't need to color the shimmer vellum. All I'm trying to do is untangle the regular vellum. It gets curled a little bit. That's from the friction of the die cutting. Come apart, my dear, come apart. But don't worry about it because these are going to be cut into pieces for the cards anyway. I'm not worried about like little pieces not cutting through all the way because I actually cut these apart when I make cards. The only time I need a whole wreath is if I'm outlining something for like a box. All right, so let's find the silicone mats you need. I'm going to get a few of these for coloring purposes. And, you know, just to protect my table. I didn't put a placemat down because when I had the machine there's not room for it. All right, so coloring techniques for vellum. You have your options. Well, you can leave it. I mean, vellum's cool. Just it's semi-translucent, so it's pretty cool the way it is, right? You know, I mean, it's not like you even have to color it, but I'm going to show you a few ways that you can color it. So what you want to do is you could use your sponge daubers. You could use your blending brush like this, or you could use, you know, all those things, just any sponge. I mean, these are Stampin' Up! Sponges, but that I cut into small pieces. I think the sponge is probably retired, but we definitely have blending brushes and we definitely have sponge daubers. And your little crafty surprises, I put a sponge dauber in your kit and you can just like wash it off and use it again. So you're going to take your ink and you're going to open up your ink and you can dip right into it. And then you can like tap it to your mat. So let's take our soft succulent. You're going to put the sponge dauber on your finger, and you're going to just dip into your ink. And instead of dipping, in this case, I really want to color the leaves, so I could actually color right onto the leaves. But I tend to tap onto my mat just once, and that gets that big first blob of ink right off of my sponge dauber. See, you can see the blob there. In fact, here, let me lower. I'm going to lower this now, so you can get a better look at my coloring. Lowering my camera tripod. Okay, so you see how I'm coloring. Tap, tap, tap. Get rid of the blob, and then just color. Okay, so that's a nice way of coloring. And you can color vellum any color you want. So there's the first technique. And let's see if we put that on something. Here, let's put it on a piece of paper so you can see the difference. Okay, so you can see the difference. That's soft succulent. Okay, now we'll keep coloring, but we'll use the sponge dauber, we're going to use the sponge dauber again, but I'm going to show you the big difference between soft succulent and evening evergreen. Okay, so we're going to leave that open, leave that ink open, and we're going to open up the evening evergreen. And I'll show you when you color with that, the big difference in color. You can see I'm a total messy this whole mess right in that little bit of time. So I'm tapping the blob off of the ink. So tap onto your Stampin' pad, tap on there, and then you're going to color. And look at that difference. Look at that. Well, not only did I probably re-ink that one more recently, but it's just also a darker color. So it's really going to be a difference. And I'm going to show you that difference on this background paper. Okay, so that's evening evergreen and soft succulent. See? So it depends on the look you're trying to go for. And of course, I always talk about contrast. So we're going to be making a card using, let me get my cards here for this. We're going to be making a card with this background. Of course, we're going to have paper on the background too. But you're going to be using a color that will contrast with the paper. So for example, if I'm using this paper, this color looks better, the evening evergreen. And then also you can do things while you got your sponge daubers out, before I get into the blending brush. We are coloring vellum, but let's just talk about why you have your blending brush here. I mean, why not color the paper itself, right? I mean, sponge daubers are awesome. You can color the paper itself before you die cut and cut out pieces. You can color it so you have different colors in your background. So if you want to just clean off your sponge dauber, when you're all done with it, just, color your paper. Just do something with the background paper. So that's just another idea. All right, now let's talk about the blending brushes and how to color with them. So we're going to still keep coloring vellum, and I'm still going to do the technique, except I don't like to dip my blending brushes straight into the ink. It's a pet peeve of mine. It's something I just don't do because I just want to know how much ink I'm putting on the blending brush. So what I do for that is I take my stamping block, this is an acrylic block, and I put the ink on the acrylic block. Then I rub my blending brush into the ink, and then I know how much ink I'm putting on there. Then I tap, 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 same way as before, and I'm going to color my vellum. Oops, I didn't mean to color on top of the paper. Although that would work if you want to color on top of the paper. In fact, you can use this as a stencil. I should have said that before. Take a few glue dots, put this down if you want to make this the stencil so that the ink doesn't appear on this. That's another way to use your vellum. So if you wanted to just put this down with a glue dot, we'll do that in a minute. How about that? All right, so first let me just show you this technique because I don't want to confuse you. Okay? I just want to make sure I'm teaching the way I planned on it here. Tap, tap, tap. Tap, tap, tap. Okay, so now I'm able to color bigger areas a lot quicker, a lot neater, a lot more even than you can with the dauber. So there's the coloring of the soft succulent of that. So now let's use the blending brush. Same blending brush, but to get rid of some ink, you're just going to, put it on, just go like this onto your paper, whatever. Now let's use the other side of the stamping block for some evening evergreen. Put some evening evergreen on there. Use the same blending brush because I have one for the greens, one for my pinks, one for my blues. I'm going to tap, tap, tap onto the ink, and I'm going to now color this other piece, this piece here, so you can see. Okay, look at how easy it is when you color with the blending brush. And there it is on a background. Okay, so sponge dauber, blending brush. Now, the sponge itself. The sponge itself, you really don't have to worry if you dip it straight into the ink or not, because you're not really worrying about protecting the sponge. These are so easy to clean and so easy to see. You can just dip right into the sponge if you want. It takes a little bit of time to get it inked up. You can also use the sponge to kind of clean off any extra ink you have. And then, let's see, and then we can just color it. Okay, this one's a little bit rougher because this sponge had some glue on it. Okay, so you can use the sponge, and I'm going to now use it straight into the Evening Evergreen. If you're going to use a bunch of colors to color with, always start with your lighter color and then just go into the darker ink. So there's how to use the sponge to color. So you have all kinds of ways to color. So now that we have this paper out, I'm only going to do this partially. I'm not going to do the whole thing, but I have glue dots here. This is the box they come in. And if you're going to get glue dots, I like these better in the roll than I do with the paper pumpkin kits, like the ones that come in there. These are much thicker. In fact, these are kind of 3D, and I like using these ones better because you can just do stuff with them like while they're on the roll. So sometimes the way I get the dots onto I put the glue dots onto things just by pushing onto the roll. It just helps me put the glue dots onto things. I'm going to put a couple there just to show you the stenciling technique while we're here, while we're talking about it. Okay, so I'm just going to do like this corner. So I have 3 glue dots. Well, 4 now. There's one here on my hand. Let's put 4 on there. We're going to just do the corner. Get off my hand. Okay, so you see this white piece of the paper? It's not really white, but it's a piece of the designer series paper. It's the other side of this piece. So I'm going to put this down like that, okay, with the glue dots. You got to have the glue dots. Very important for this technique. Now you're going to get your ink. I'll just use whatever's on here. It's Evening Evergreen. It doesn't really matter. This is just a technique. This class is all about techniques. Now you're going to go in a pulling motion. Don't try to do a circular motion because everything will slip out of proportion. So I'm just sort of pulling on it. And that's my little stencil. Okay, and I'll pull that up in a second. Let's get some more ink on here. I'm going to pull, but the glue dots are helping me keep everything in place. You know, the more glue dots, the better. And they're not that strong anyway. They'll come right off. But that's why when I layer on my cards, I use a bunch of glue dots and liquid glue. And then I also like put things on top with dimensionals just so all my vellum doesn't move out of the way. All right, so let me show you what that technique looks like. And you lift that up. That's for stenciling. Okay, so you can use your vellum for that. In fact, if you want to color your vellum and stencil at the same time, now I'm getting these glue dots to come off, then you have a way to like have a background for your card, right? Pretty cool. So you could have your background for your card because you got your stencil, and you also got to color your vellum at the same time. So those are all different ways to color your vellum and to color your background. And now let's kind of replace those glue dots because I've got a little bit of paper stuck on that one. All right, as I make the card, I'm going to say hi to you and check out who's here. And I'm going to make a card. We're using the soft succulent background. I'm not going to, because of my hands are all inky, I'm going to wipe them off with a baby wipe, but I'm not going to go cut the card bases and the white layer because I've already done that. And I wanted to make sure I didn't get ink all over my card. So I already done that part. So we're just going to go from the part where you're putting designer series paper onto your card, because I like to teach full projects in this series. And so we need just a paper trimmer and some of your Eden's Garden, or it's called, I'm sorry, Ever Eden. It's called Ever Eden Specialty Designer Series paper. This paper is available now while supplies last or until the new catalog goes live January 4th. So you need to get this paper by January 3rd. This paper, if we even still have it, it's not going to last until January 3rd probably because it's so pretty. So what you want to do is just cut a regular card base. I mean a card layer, I should say. So let's do one of these because I already have this part measured out to 4 inches. So you want to do a 4-inch. Yeah, it's already 4 inches, and we want to do 4 by 5 1/4. Okay, so it's going to be sort of a tone on tone. Okay, so here's my soft succulent background, and then here's this piece. You don't have to use the plain piece, but what I'm doing is I'm trying to combine the plain sort of piece. That's the back of this one. And this one would still work too for what I'm showing you. This piece of paper would work fine. But yeah, either way. But I'm already doing a shiny piece for the middle part. So since I'm doing a shiny piece for the middle part, I thought, well, why not just use the sort of a plain piece? But it's up to you which piece you want, which side you want to use. So you're going to get some of your seal. I use the Seal Plus. That's the adhesive, right? And you're putting a little bit on there. I have so many, like seriously, I still have so many Christmas cards to make. I'm trying to use this sparingly, even though I have a refill right here. I know, I'm behind. The Paper Chef is behind on her own cards. All right, let's see. I'm doing an actual Christmas letter, but I'm putting some cards in with it. I just haven't finished writing the letter yet. I wasn't feeling it. I have to be inspired. All right, so now that's the card. So it depends on if you want to make, so if you want to make this like vertical, these little lines, and you want to make the card vertical so that it opens this way, then you would you'd cut the lines, you'd cut it like a piece of vertical. But if you want to make this sideways, like if you want to make the card like this, which is fine, and open it this way, which is fine, then you might want the leaves to go facing this way. So I'm going to make this a vertical card. So I'm going to make the leaves facing that way. And you have I'm just going to go with, since this is 5¼ inches tall, then I want to make, and I'm going to make this about 2 inches wide. Now each one was a little different. I tried 2, 2¼ we'll do 2¼ for this one, just to show you. And I can always make it shorter. I mean, I can't make it wider, but I've tried 2, 2¼ and I go between 2 and 2¼ wide. So that's kind of the idea. So maybe 2 inches wide, 2¼ wide. I just want something in the background, but I wanted this other background to show. Now, since this is 5¼ high, I want to make this 4.75 wide, and I'll have the measurements eventually in the description. But I'm trying to go for something like this, so you can still get that border, that 1/4 inch border around the top and bottom, but a bigger border around the sides, and that's what I was going for. So that's what I decided, 2¼ by 4.73, 4¾ So in other words, enough to give it a border, but you're going to see that my cards have different measurements. Let's see, do I need to change? Yes, I do. I did bring, it's time to change the seal. Hi, Janet. Hi, Patty. I'm just changing my Seal Plus. You'll see how easy it is to change the Seal Plus. Never take the old one out because you won't know which way to put the new one in. So what I always do is take this one out. This is the old one, and that's the new one, and I lay them next to each other like that, and then I put them in the right way. Even to this point, even though I do this all the time, I want to make sure I can see this Stampin' Seal Plus, and then I put the new one in the exact way, and I don't have any confusion. But if you take the old one out and you throw it away, then you forget how to put the new one in. There you go. That's how to change the Seal Plus. Easy peasy, but you have to get it going, and there it is. See how easy it is to get it going. I like this one because it has ridges on it. And let's make sure this is opening to the right. Okay, this is how I'm putting this little piece of paper. So I just wanted that as some bling, to have some bling on the card. Now, then the idea is you're going to take your vellum. Here's the one we colored. And I didn't use it all for this. Like I did for one card. But what I would tend to do is something like this. You're going to get it and you're going to cut it at different points. And that way you have, and cut it at the leaf, cut the curves here. See how you can sort of cut it like there's a easy places to cut the vellum. And then what you're going to do is you want to put I'm going to just put like one at an angle like that. And you want to use those glue dots. There's already one on there, a couple on there, but put a couple of glue dots and sort of put them in the middle because you don't want to use we're going to use adhesive in this course, in this workshop. We're going to use those adhesive sheets, but not for vellum because vellum you want to stick up. So somewhere, here they are, here there. So you want the vellum to sort of stick up. You don't want to use adhesive sheets and make it all flat. The whole point of vellum is to layer it and make it look all really cool. So you want the ends to kind of stick up. So I'm putting these dots somewhere in the middle with this end sticking up and this end sticking out, okay? So when I put it like that, I have a little 3D effect going on. See, this little part will stick up. And then I start building my layers, which is kind of what the point of this was. That was me showing you this thing. Now let's look at this one here. We got the In Color Shimmer Vellum. Poking that. Okay, so let me keep saying hello. So Frosty, Colorado. Pamela's in Frosty, Colorado. Hello, Nola. Hello, Terry. Let me just cut this. But I guess it's good to be frosty and right in time for Christmas, right? That's good. There you go. And I'm going to kind of see how I have the curve going, and now I'm doing another layer, but this one was the white one that we colored, and now I'm going to stick another layer sort of like that. And I do it different. Every time I do it differently. I mean, no two cards are ever alike when you work with vellum and layers. And you can't really even put these upside down because they're just a bunch of sprigs. And this is a good year-round card because of the nature. This reminds me of Forever Fern and all the sprigs and all the nature stuff that we had last year. All right, let's see. Yeah, it's not really, it doesn't really go upside down or right side up, but I'm just sort of put it like that. Okay, and then we're going to take this little piece. Hello, Nathalie from the Netherlands. And we're going to take this little piece, and this is a piece of cotton one. So the problem with the cotton one, I'm going to finish poking out the holes, is they really fall apart easy when you try to use the Seal Plus. So I think it was easier with the cotton ones to work with them with glue. So you might want to do something like, I'm just trying to find the one that was the other color. Did he ever, I don't know if he ever came out. Let's see if he ever came out. Here we go. Sort of came out. No, not really. He's a little stuck in there. But here, we have a little color piece here. This is a little different. We could use a pop of color here. We'll use this little pop of color. I'm just trying to do something a little bit different here. This is the In Color Shimmer Vellum with the pink. So I'm trying to put a little something behind this one, because we have to use glue when you're trying. Well, you don't have to use glue, but I tend to feel that it's easier when you're working with cotton paper to use some glue, because when you try to use the seal, it just rips the cotton paper. And I'll give you other ideas on what to do with the cotton paper. I actually did a whole video on how to color the cotton paper already, and that was on my YouTube channel before I even started this series. So I'm just doing little pops of color here. And I'm going to put that there. Chop that off. I'm just giving a little pop of pink back there. I'm going to put this down. And we're going to layer that. So now we got a little pop of pink. Or it's not pink, it's fresh. No, it's polished pink. It's pink, but it's called polished pink. Got to use the right names for the colors. And it's okay that puckers right there. Okay? Because I'm not worried about it puckering, because I'm covering that up with the sentiment. And then I don't want to use this one because it's too close to, like, this is the Soft Succulent In Color Vellum, and it's too close to the other one. But we can use, there's a couple little sprigs. Just looking for the sprigs. Here's one. Here's a good little sprig to use. This is a cotton sprig that we cut earlier. And because it's cotton paper, again, I'm going to use the glue. So pretty much this is how I do my cards. This is how I made all the ones that I'm about to show you, is just keep on layering them and just making things stick out in different directions. And then you cover them up at the end. I'm going to put adhesive there, so you're not going to see that little bend. I'm going to push that one down. You're not going to see that little bend or crease because I'm going to put the sentiment right there. All right, so let's grab the sentiment. I already have this part cut. This is a stitch rectangle die. I like using stitch rectangles for when I'm stamping. Let's move that away. And I have a couple extra because just in case I messed this up and I got ink all over my hands, so we'll see. And then I'll also show you one more use of the sponge dauber while we're here. We'll do the sponge dauber. So I like to use either the Evening Evergreen or the Soft Succulent for the sentiments, knowing that they're going to match, or coordinate, we should say coordinate, Let me grab a stamping block and let me grab the stamps. So we're using the Eden's Garden stamp set. I keep using hello there and sending hugs. Sending hugs doesn't work real good with this particular one. Hello there works really good because it's a long one. I'm not sure if Dear Friend will fit. Yeah, we'll use Dear Friend because I haven't used that one yet today. Okay, I keep using the hello there. There's a butterfly stuck on there. I'm very limited in my new butterflies, so I'm going to leave it stuck on there so I don't mess it up. But anyway, let's put this down. This was one of my personalized stamping blocks that my team leader gave me. So let's take a sticky note. Whenever you're stamping, take a sticky note or a piece of scrap paper and stamp onto it first, just to make sure you have good ink coverage. And when you have good ink coverage, then you can stamp onto your actual die cut piece. Now, I always die cut the pieces first, and I did have good ink coverage, but the deer got a little messed up, and that's why I said let's get an extra one. I'm not worried about that deer because it still looks good. Okay, that one looks better though. We'll use this one. Now, what you're going to do with your sponge daubers, and let me close this ink, is just kind of, for dimension, you're going to go around the edges of your little stitching. So just touch it to your mat, right, to make sure there's no big blobs of ink on there. See what I'm doing? I'm just adding a little bit of dimension by inking up the edges of the sentiment. When I make a card on YouTube as part of my series, this card, the Dear Friend, How Are You, is going to be the card that's part of the prize drawing that I do at the end of my series. So whoever gets a kit gets put into the drawing. And Linda won the last time. She was Polly won one of the times. Anyway, we had different winners. Like different times I've done series, they've won the different kits, the different things we made in the series, which is lots of fun. I'm just putting a bunch of these because I really should be using the bigger dimensionals, but the reason I'm putting all the dimensionals toward the middle is because I want that vellum to stick out the side. I don't want to put the dimensionals too far to the side because then it'll push down on my vellum. I want my vellum to sort of flop out the sides. Okay, so I took all the little stickies off the mini dimensionals. Okay, now here's the difference between inking it and not inking it. See that extra dimension? It's really cool to add the little bit of ink on the extra. All right, so now we're ready to put our sentiment on there, and we're ready. The project will be done, except for the little bit of bling. We need some bling. So we're going to put this down. Dear Friend. And sometimes I put it crooked, and sometimes I put it straight. And voila. And we need some bling. And get some bling out of your little container. Or actually, you know, let's use the bling that coordinates with the suite. So the one thing that's a special release right now is called Garden Gems. You can see how many I've been using a lot of these. So there's some cherry cobbler and some little, I guess they'd be silver garden gems. So let's do 5 of these. We'll put one there, and we'll do a few cherry cobblers just for some pops of red here for the holidays here. Let's put one there. We'll put one there. There's a couple sizes of these, so we'll put, and you could use your little take your pick tool too to help with these as well. I'm just using my fingers, which are sticky enough. We'll put one there. So I'm just doing an odd, oop, got to move it down. So it's kind of balanced. So we just do an odd number. So there's the project. So that's how you work with vellum. That's how you color it. That's how you layer it. That's just one way. Let me show you a bunch of other ways. But before I do, I have to wash my hands a little bit. Before I pick up all these other cards, I just have to use the baby wipe here because I have a lot of ink on my hands. I'm about to show you some cards using this vellum technique. Hi, Sandy. All right. So here are some more examples. And here's one when I just put it at an angle. And the way I put it at an angle because it was just where I was trying to get the vellum. Sometimes I was trying to hide different parts of the vellum adhesive. And sometimes when you put like a dimensional, actually I was trying not to use dimensionals behind the vellum because you can see it. I was using the glue dots. But sometimes I was trying to hide the glue dots. And I just had to put the sentiment at an angle. This little guy needs probably one more glue dot because although he's hanging, And I said it's good to have some dimension. You probably want a little extra little glue dot there because it'd be hard to, for the envelope, and some bling. Okay, so that's another example. Let me put that down. Here's another example of something I did in a previous video. So part of my Ink It Up series on YouTube, in that series I talked about coloring or stamping onto the cotton paper. So if you missed how to stamp onto the cotton paper, that's what we did. So I stamped onto the cotton paper, and here's me just putting that piece that we stamped straight onto a background and using the layered piece of cotton paper around it. That's all I did. This is a very simple card. Now this sentiment is from Beauty of Friendship. It's not from Eden's Garden. It's from Beauty of Friendship, and I also used that stamp last week for the nugget treats. Okay, and they're just plain inside. Here's another one with the sample I showed you. See how I was telling you that sometimes they're like 2 inches wide and sometimes I went with 2 1/4. But you can go with 1 3/4 inches or 2 inches wide. You just want a little piece of paper in the middle with some bling on it. And here's another piece with some colored vellum and some ink color shimmer vellum. Here's another piece where it's crooked, and here's a piece of ink color shimmer vellum. And I just put it at an angle again to kind of hide some of the adhesives. Some more gems. And then here's one that I tried a new embossing folder on. So I went for the technique of, I talked about how to color color the cotton paper. So this is our stamping onto the cotton paper. So I did that. I stamped onto the cotton paper in that other part of my series. And then I tried this new, I just tried it. I just put the cotton paper through here, the Hive 3D embossing folder. And it really gave it a really cool impression and a really cool nature effect because it has this little color. There's a little bit of color back there because I used some fresh freesia and some pale papaya. I used like all the ink colors when I was coloring this piece of background, and then I embossed it. So this is my favorite one. And it has all the ink color shimmer vellum, and it has the gold pieces. And when I just get the gold pieces from my little bucket of crafty goodness where I'm putting things like some shimmer and some brushed metallic cardstock. I just have a bunch of these that I save, and we'll be using some of these for the box and stuff. So this is just pieces that I have and I can cut apart and use on other cards. So I hope you enjoyed that technique of coloring, layering, working with vellum. Thank you, Terry. The Hive, yeah, the Hive is just I think it's my favorite new embossing folder. All right, so let's show you what we did in parts 1 and 2. And just what the Eden's Garden's all about. So in part 1 of this series, we did, was it part 1? Yes. Sorry, I'm the absent-minded professor sometimes. In part 1 of this series, we created this card, and the technique that I was teaching you was the introduction, and I was teaching you about die cutting and using the different parts of this suite. Okay, so we made this very simple card. And these are just a couple versions of that card. And then in a different, that was part 1, and then in part 2, we continued doing die cutting techniques, and in part 2, I showed you how to make these Hershey nugget treats. I gave you all the measurements. We made the trays, we made the toppers, and that's the part I was telling you to save, like, oh, yeah, for this little part. This little part is this. It's one of these. It's not the smaller, it's like a smaller one of these. It's this little piece here. So it's like this little piece is a little extra piece. See, it's just the scraps, and it makes a good little outline for the hello there, stitch rectangles. So that's Eden's Garden for you. So what we're doing now is just more Eden's Garden work. And another thing on YouTube that I did recently was how to color embossing folders. And we worked with the Hive 3D embossing folder. And this is my favorite card I made with the Eden's Garden series so far, using the Hive 3D embossing folder and the layering diorama dies. Here's another way to just take that hello there sentiment and pansy petals from another whole suite of paper. And then here are just some other Eden's Garden cards. This is Tasteful Textures embossing folder, and the dies, and that's how to color the cotton. Here's the Subtle 3D embossing folder, which sadly is retiring soon. And here's how to use the border dies, which we'll be using some more of. I didn't use the border dies today. Hey, look at all these cards I have half finished. Okay, and then here's a simple card that I made for my bingo, and then I'm going to step it up with adding some of the vellum to it and stuff. I'll add some more layers to this one. And there's another card using the coloring cotton paper technique, stamping onto it, embossing it with the Tasteful Textiles So these would just give you ideas on what to do with these products. And I hope you enjoyed these techniques, and we'll continue to work with new techniques in this series and continue to make more projects, such as our craft gift box. Did I use verse type stamps in the middle? In the middle of what? Did I use verse type stamps in the middle? Or leave them? I'm not sure where the middle of what. These were all, oh no, in the middle of the cards. I see what you're saying. No. Okay, yes, I did use some, I forgot I did stuff in the middle of the cards. Hello there. So I said, dear friend, how are you? Hello there. Hello there. Let's see what I did in the middle. I can't remember. Good question. Dear friend, how are you? Okay. Let's see if I did anything in here. Nope, nothing there. Sometimes in my bingo, I think I did a couple little leaves. I don't remember if I put anything in the inside. You don't need anything in the inside. You can put some little leaves on the inside. That's what I did. I forgot I had done that. See? Oh, here I did do a hello there. Dear friend, how are you? So yes, you can put sentiments in the middle. But as you can see, I haven't even used all these yet. My heart is tied to yours. Tug if you need anything. I don't even think I took that one out of the case yet. See, I've never even used it. I tend not to put inside sentiments because I give more cards away that are plain than I do filled out. Like today I actually wrote a couple cards, and that was unusual because I usually give people, I actually wrote the whole message in the card, but usually I actually give people the cards that they can use again because people are always like, with their busy lives, and they don't make their own cards, and they're always like, oh, I'm so thankful you gave me a card. My neighbor was sick, and as soon as you sent it, like I was able to go give it to her, or I needed something for my mail carrier, and your card came right in time. And like, I find that I can bless others by giving like plain cards out more. But anyway, I tend not to put anything in it because I don't know what it's going to be used for, in many cases. But anyway, thanks for watching. This is the Paper Chef. I appreciate you all. Happy holidays, and thank you for your comments. And we'll see you again real soon.